Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged, USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Hell, wait till you have those half-pound Wagyu burgers. Best I've ever had. Again, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on all of our network affiliates, on radio and TV, and everybody else on Facebook, listening in on Chicago Food Favorites. Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, our friends over at Vacation Buddies are giving away a couple of nights right here in fabulous Las Vegas, or in Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri, if you can answer a simple trivia question. And here is the question. Which of these cities has the tallest office building in the United States of America? Is it A, New York? Is it B, Chicago? Is it C, Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with the station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you can answer that simple trivia question, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they do want to give you that trip. So if you know the answer to which of the cities, either New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, has the tallest office building in the country, call 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, it's going to be Major League Baseball today, folks. Lots happening in Major League Baseball. We already know what's going on in football and whatnot. We'll get to that a little bit later this week. So let's turn our attention to baseball. And look, there's a lot of trades and free agencies and all this other fun stuff that happens in the offseason. And people say, well, you know, football is a 365-day-a-year sport. Well, baseball actually is a longer season. They play a hell of a lot more. Baseball is a long season, but believe it or not, hockey has the longest season from preseason to the Stanley Cup Finals, and of course, their season goes front to back about 10 months. That's right, about 10 months. That's crazy to even imagine that. Nonetheless, this is not about hockey right now. This is about baseball. And how about the idea of the mid-winter progress report for all 30 teams? Who's your favorite team? I mean, me, I live and die with my beloved White Sox, and yes, they're terrible, but they're getting better. But the four-letter network says the hot stove season is stuck in the middle right now, and when they last checked, the winter meetings in Orlando, Florida were set to begin. That's the last time I checked. And they figured that maybe a month later, the heavy lifting of the offseason would be complete. Not so fast! Yet we're here. And while there have been some activity, including this weekend's big news about Alex Bregman signing with the Chicago Cubs, free agent market remains very, very rich. Lots of big names sitting out there, including Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, Bo Bichette, and still unsigned. So there's kind of the whisper mill. So we talk about the rumor mill, but there's the whisper mill, and it's still spinning with trade rumors and all kind of stuff. So rather than the de facto winter wrap-up of each club that people think they might want to be doing at this point, nope, not so fast. How about looking at where the teams stand midterm, and I'm talking about in the wintertime when they're not actually playing. So let's just go ahead and start right at the top with the world champion, LA Dodgers. And look, their win average, it should calculate out to be about 99. And the last stock watch was about 98.6, so they're right there. And it looks like their chance of making the playoffs without even the first pitch going on yet this year is 95.3%. So actually they got better from last year to this year, believe it or not. And to be the repeat World Series champions again, 22.2%. And it's actually down 0.2%. But the Dodgers offseason has been consisted of nabbing a new closer and Edwin Diaz and free agency and then working on the edges. And now you get the feeling that they're sitting back enjoying maybe some of their favorite cocktails or whatnot, but still waiting to make another move. It almost seems like they will not be done. They'll never be done. They'll never be done. Anyway, as it stands, LA projects to have the number 2 offense and the top pitching staff, both in the rotation and in the bullpen. That's crazy to imagine. Dodgers also have the oldest position player group in the majors and could stand to mix it up a little bit, maybe get some young kids in there. Both would be accomplished if Alex Freeland and Hye-Sung Kim are ready to take bigger roles. But of course, they would also get a little younger and more athletic if they signed Kyle Tucker and maybe found a taker for Teoscar Hernandez. I'm not so sure moving Teoscar is the greatest thing in the world. I think there are other moves, but honestly, that's kind of the mid-season report or mid-off-season report. How about the Atlanta Braves? Now, we're on the Atlanta Braves radio network in Auburn, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, and that's on WAUD 1230 on the AM. That stick right there in Auburn, War Eagle. So Atlanta, their win average is projected to be a little bit higher from last year, about a game and a half more, about 92.5, with an 82% chance of making the playoffs, up about 5% from the previous year. The question is, can they stay healthy to win the World Series? About 10%. That's a pretty good number. In fact, that's only second to the Dodgers. But the Braves had quieted down since mid-December after a torrid start to the offseason, and the Braves would have projected to bounce back strong from last year's debacle, no matter what the reinforcements that the roster has made. Now, the offense looks like one of baseball's best with across-the-board skills. And a healthy Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be a really big deal. Now, the Braves could also use a right-handed hitter, maybe an athletic outfielder to complete the puzzle. Now, Harrison Bader is one of those guys. I like this guy. I like Harrison Bader. Man, he is a gamer. Harrison Bader kind of reminds me of throwback player from the 1970s and 80s, Bobby Grich. Just a grindy, gritty player, and he'll do it all for you. Harrison Bader always gets a nice round of applause here on the circus. Gotta see about getting Harrison on the show. And I think it'd be a really good fit if Atlanta is willing to go a little bit deeper into the old competitive balance tax territory, right? We have to think about that. But the Braves could use another starting pitcher as well. And if it's a choice between one or the other, probably the pitcher is going to take precedence. But hey, why not both? Why?
Show me the money!
It's all about that. That's right. Show me the money, and you never know what's going to happen here. But I have to tell you, it always comes down to, oh yeah. How about the Seattle Mariners coming in at number 3? And they're projected to win basically a game more than last year's projection, but with about a 73% chance of making the playoffs, obviously up from the year previous, and about an 8% chance to win it all. Well, we'll have to see about that. But the Dodgers have put themselves on the higher tier than everybody else, but the Mariners are very much a part of a crowded group of second-tier teams that mostly consists of last year's non-champion postseason teams. There's a lot of good teams there. I mean, Toronto's one of them. We're going to get to them in a minute. And, of course, it's been a pretty quiet offseason for President of Baseball Operations, Derry DePoto, and he's mostly positioned his team to run back last year's group, which was a really, really good group. And that will especially be true if the Mariners end up bringing back Eugenio Suarez. But you can call him Eugenio. It's actually Eugenio. Anyway, a lot of the optimism generated by Seattle's outlook stems from positive regression for a rotation that can hope for a better health this coming season. One low-key need for the Mariners is another lefty or two for the bullpen, maybe to help out Gabe Spire. And as their righty-heavy staff leaves them short situationally, right? So situationally, they have a little bit of an issue against the left-handed hitters. We'll see where that one goes. But those guys are pretty good. Toronto comes in number 4, about the same numbers across the board as the Seattle Mariners. And the Blue Jays have not rested on their laurels from the 2025 pennant. And, of course, even after adding Kaz Okamoto, Toronto remains in the rumor mill as possible landing spot for top free agents. And guess what? Also their franchise fixture, Bo Bichette. So if that deal's not done, I think Bo is going to come back. I don't see why he wouldn't. And, of course, Kyle Tucker would work very well there, too, even as his salary would send the Blue Jays payroll further into the stratosphere, whether it's Bichette, Bellinger, or somebody else. I don't know. These guys just keep spending wildly, but the bigger question is, are they going to be able to outperform some of their American League East foes? Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus with number 5, the Philadelphia Phillies, in just a few minutes.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta. I mentioned you earlier, WDJY 99.1 FM. Actually, I mentioned WAUD out of Auburn, Alabama. That's home of the Atlanta Braves. That's 1230 on the AM dial from Montgomery all the way over to Columbus, Georgia, up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast. Those driving, listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. That is home of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Out to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And plus all those watching in on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for doing so. And Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Fun group. Talk about your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes, your favorite foods. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. Oh, and by the way, if you're just tuning in, our friends over at Vacation Buddies are giving away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to the simple trivia question. Now, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it in case you're just tuning in right now. And if you know the answer, call the number I give you right afterwards and pick up your 2 free nights in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri. Here's the question. Which of these three has the home, or which of these three cities, better yet, is the home to the tallest office building in America? Would it be New York? Would it be Chicago? Or would it be Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. And again, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right there in Las Vegas or in Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. And if you know the answer, call 888-576-5777. Call now. So it's the mid-off-season report card in Major League Baseball. So far, we have covered the Dodgers, the Bravos, but you can call them the Braves, the Mariners, and Blue Jays. Now we're going to get to the Philadelphia Phillies, and they're actually projected to be better this year than they were the previous, which is a little bit alarming. Now, the Phillies have already avoided the worst-case scenario for their offseason by bringing back Kyle Schwarber. And, of course, the pitching staff looks pretty darn good with top 5 ERA forecast for both the rotation and the pen, and it's a ground ball heavy group. Look, these guys, they know how to play baseball, which really puts the onus on an infield defense that last season allowed, well, they allowed a little bit, well, they made some errors. Let's just leave it like that. Anyway, let's just see what happens. Now, overall, the Phillies' offensive forecast, it's going to be solid. But only the Dodgers have an older position group, and it's not hard to see a lot of downside in the numbers. So JT Realmuto back as catcher, that's crucial, but that doesn't help the age ceiling issue. And one player who helps those areas is Justin Crawford. And well, look, he's going to have to pick up some kind of a better opportunity in Philadelphia's outfield mix. But what's interesting is we think about Kyle Schwarber. And I always say, Kyle Schwarber, every team needs a Kyle Schwarber, in my opinion. And when you look at how he has built wealth over times. Now, I pulled this one. You're ready for this. This is from the Times of India. That's right, of India. They say Kyle Schwarber's net worth timeline is alarming, and how the Philadelphia Phillies star built his wealth. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, Schwarber, they say, has definitely seen his money increasing steady during his professional baseball career, primarily as a result of the salaries and contracts from playing in Major League Baseball. Of course, in fact, the Cubs gave him a start, but later he had a very meaningful time with the Phillies, and his income has gone up quite a bit. And to give you an idea, according to Baseball Reference, Kyle Schwarber has ranked in a whopping sum. That's right, he's raked in $101 million from his career earnings till 2025, not counting the upcoming 2026 salary. So net worth estimates aren't usually shared in details and can differ depending on the source, but some estimate using algorithms based on social factors and showing figures like 6.3, well, we'll call it 6 million in 2022 to 7 million in 2023, 8 million in 2024, 9 million in 2025, and 10 million in 2026. I don't necessarily agree with that, but then again, it doesn't really matter to me. Again, this is the Times of India. So they say Kyle Schwarber's early career with the Cubs really made a difference, but Schwarber kicked off his career when the Cubs picked him up in the first round, 4th overall of the 2014 draft. You're talking 12 years ago. And that was the amateur draft. Now, coming straight from Indiana University, Bloomington, which, of course, Indiana is absolutely in the news and on their way to a NCAA national championship. And yes, I'm going to even give them an applause. I'm going to give them an applause even though I went to their arch rival, Purdue, because we are on the same school system. It's the state of Indiana school system. But nonetheless, when you think about what this guy's done, look, at first his paychecks were pretty small, like a lot of other players, which is normal for a rookie and a pre-arbitration player, but his efforts played a very big role in, I guess we'll say, the collapse of the Cleveland Indians in 2016, because I still believe they lost the World Series because the Cubs certainly didn't win the World Series, in my opinion, and that's really a matter of opinion. But listen, all the evidence is there. Anyway, in context, Schwarber was out for most of that season because of a torn ACL. But he did make a stunning comeback, of course, and that was in the World Series. He hit .412 with 7 hits and 17 at-bats. That's pretty damn good. And the impressive showing raised his profile, even though his pay was still at the entry level. He's still at that rookie kind of level. So 16, he made $522K. 17 made $565K. But he had cumulative earnings of just over $1 million. The next year, his base salary went to $604, but his cumulative earnings went up $1.1 million from there. So it was $1,692,000, pretty darn good. 2019 salary of $3,390,000 with the Cubs, and it was the first year of his arbitration eligible. But his cumulative earnings was over $5 million in 19. So from 16 to 19, he really went up 10 times in pay, from $522,000 to almost $5,100,000. So we'll call it 9 times. Anyway, still a big number. Anyway, 2020, his salary of $7 million with the Cubs and a cumulative earnings of another $5 million beyond that, so $12 million. So his career with the Washington Nationals and the Red Sox, well, that was another question. So in 2021, Schwarber did join the Nats as a free agent, signing a 1-year deal worth $7 million. And this was his first experience with free agency and a chance to bounce back. So after the Cubs decided not to keep him, well, he went out and said, I'm going to go out and see what's out there. And so he worked with hitting coach Kevin Long in Washington, who assisted him in his fine-tuning of his swing and so forth. Well, Schwarber told MLB.com last year in an interview, quote, Long helped resurrect Schwarber's career in Washington in 2021, close quote. So that's what the quote was. But during the season, he was traded to the Red Sox and helped them in their playoff journey. So he had more playoff experience. And of course, with Washington, he had earned $7 million. So his total earnings amounted to $19 million in 2021. That's big numbers. Now, Schwarber joined the Phillies, of course, as everybody knows, and his network just boomed from there. And so his fortune really took off when he signed that 4-year, $79 million deal with Philadelphia back in 2022, which averages out to be about just under $20 million a year. And the contract followed a solid 2021 season where he hit 32 homers between Washington and Boston. And Philadelphia operations Dave Dombrowski said, look, we went after Schwarber because of his power and leadership. His $19 million deal with the Phillies, along with the $3 million buyout from the Red Sox, brings total to $41 million in his total earnings. Now, under the deal, Schwarber pays still $20 million a year. And, of course, thanks to the backed and loaded-up deal, he has the best season in 2025, hitting a National League high 56 homers and driving in 132, which got him his second in the MVP race. So 2023, $61 million. That's his total earnings. 2024, $81 million total earnings. 2025, $101 million in total earnings. And then, of course, he just got that big deal again, and another 5 years, $150 million. I mean, look, the guy is pretty darn good. $30 million a year, is he that good? Apparently he is. Philadelphia is willing to say, yeah, we'll give him $30 million a year for 5 years. So Schwarber is sort of on easy street right now, but he's earned it. He's worked very hard to get there. We don't want to take nothing away from Kyle Schwarber because I like him. I think every team needs a Kyle Schwarber. Back here in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Show me the money!
Excellent.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, our recorded shows, which are stored on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, make sure that you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over at thesportscircus.com. And one of those appearing for the next several days right here in fabulous Las Vegas is the music of country music star Jason Owens. You can catch Jason over at the MGM Grand at 5 p.m. and at 10 p.m. So he plays 2 sets a night. In fact, on Friday and Saturday, it'll be 1 hour later on each of those. It'll be 6 p.m. for a couple of hours, and then it'll be at 11 p.m. for 3 hours from 11 to 2 a.m. Lots of good stuff. It's good traditional country music, and he's got his full band there. He'll have a fiddle player and a drummer and a bass player, and Jason has played Vegas, I think about 300 times right here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's a lot of times. And he's very good, Kentucky-based. Check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. That's jasonowensmusic.com. And tell him when you go see him that the circus sent you. All right, welcome back to everybody on radio and TV. You know who you are. And by the way, everybody on Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us there too. I mentioned it before, but folks, check out, if you like food, if you like fun groups, no spam, no BS, whatever. Talk about the things that you like. Maybe what your recipes you dig. Maybe share them. How about some favorite desserts? I do this kind of stuff. I'm the administrator for Chicago Food Favorites. I started the group a couple of years ago. It's fun. There's no nonsense, no BS, but it's fun. And I have to tell you, no spamming is allowed. No. Have a fun dialogue. A lot of people have made a lot of friends there as well. Listen, folks, go enjoy it. Check it out. Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. All right. And you don't have to tell them the circus sent you because I am the circus. I'm a one-man circus, and I prove it every day. All right. Back to Major League Baseball. I was talking about the mid-off-season progress reports, so to say. And I got a little sidetracked with the Phillies and Kyle Schwarber. I like Schwarber. I think he's one hell of a player. He's just one of those guys that you kind of root for. It doesn't matter if he's on the enemy or not, because he's just a good dude. All right, coming in number 6, the Yankees project about the same last year as far as their win average. Their chances of making the playoffs right now, until they make a bigger move, I suppose, are going to be slightly less than last year, 73.3%, 69.9%, and to be world champions, 7.6%, which is just a click lower than last year. Now, the Yankees fans may not have noticed this, but their team hasn't done anything this offseason whatsoever. No one's really talking about it, though. And the offense ranks in the lower part of the top 10, depending, of course, on how you want to allot the projected playing time. And there's even a thought that, once again, profile as the best power and patience lineup in baseball. And so there really are too many strikeouts in this lineup. Absolutely. I think the collective batting average is kind of low. Shortcomings, of course, of that go hand in hand. And I mean, look, even if they do make an acquisition and pick up Kyle Tucker, they're still going to have some needs. And yeah, he's the kind of player that the Yankees do need. He's a good contact hitter. He hits for power. He's got a great glove. He can do the same things as Cody Bellinger. And so do the Yankees need Cody Bellinger? Probably not. Does Cody Bellinger end up with the New York Mets on the other side of town? Probably. So Kyle Tucker probably essentially replaces Cody Bellinger. He's got a better bat, and he has just as good a glove, and they both have really good gloves. These are 5-tool players. And Kyle Tucker is a lot younger than Bellinger, which makes a little bit sense for the Yankees. Let the New York Mets pick up the contract for Cody Bellinger and call it a day, because I think that's really the only landing spot for him that makes a little bit of sense. But elsewhere, the rotation has too many walks in its forecast. But more pressing is a bullpen that looks mediocre at best. And really, at the bottom line, the lack of dominance is there. Look, it's just, they're old. And it's really not a great set of traits. So the Yankees are probably just a click above mediocrity. They may have the best hitter in baseball in Aaron Judge. But outside of that, I think they're in trouble. We'll have to see what happens there. All right, going right across town to the New York Metropolitans. Their numbers look almost exactly the same as the previous year as far as their projections. And so, I mean, look, from a fan reaction standpoint, the moment Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles, it's kind of like the wind went right out of the sails. And you'd almost think, what in the world is their president of baseball operation, David Stearns, what is the offseason really going to look like? And the depth chart clearly has room for, well, guys like I just mentioned, whether it was Bellinger or Tucker or whatnot. Tucker doesn't make a lot of sense there. Bellinger makes more sense there, in my opinion. But we'll see how that one plays out. I predict that Bellinger signs there and Tucker signs with the Yankees. Now, the rotation is heavy on upside, given the presence of McLean and Sproat and Tong. So on the flip side, though, the forecast walk rate for the group is alarming. And the inning forecast is also low, which means the bullpen is going to be working pretty heavy. Now, either way, the rotation needs a headliner, and there are a couple of guys out there. Framber Valdez seems to be out there. Whether it's a free agent such as him or some other trade target. I mean, maybe Freddie Peralta, but the problem is if they take Peralta from the Mets are going to get a huge haul back, but the Mets want a starter in return. Now, that's going to be a really big question. I don't think the Brewers should make a deal for Freddie Peralta. I think they should leave that intact. If anything, they could probably make a deal for Mizorowski, who has shown signs of greatness in his rookie year, but he's also shown signs of he needs to be polished up a little bit. Yeah, he throws hard, and he's got a good off-speed pitch and so forth, but I would be more likely to trade a young, unproven gun than Freddie. That makes a little bit more sense to me. But now also, it is a ground ball-inducing pitching staff, too, which should work well with the Mets' Marcus Semien infused at the infield level, too. So who knows what they're not done. They got moves to make before pitchers and catchers report, just like the Cubs. At number 8, their numbers look a little bit better for the playoff side, believe it or not. And I think that's predicated on the idea that they could re-sign Kyle Tucker, which they probably should, but the money has to go to Pete Crow Armstrong. That makes the most sense. They did sign Imanaga. He got the tender offer, the $22 million, whatever. But the deal with Edward Cabrera was a big move, and the Cubs emptied the cupboards to get this pitcher from the Miami Marlins. The bullpen it's kind of a mess, really. You got old, you got mediocre, you've got highly questionable. The bullpen will be their Achilles tendon. There'll be Achilles heel once again. And I mean, the floor for the group looks fairly high, but the rotation is also old. And that's perhaps maybe a few too many fly ball pitchers out there for those windy days at Wrigley Field. But it's a group with a fairly good collective, but I just think that they are going to be behind the Milwaukee Brewers again. I just don't see them really doing the big steps, so to say, and running away with the division. They had a chance to do it last year, but no, not this year. I mean, look, yeah, they did sign Alex Bregman, which certainly is really driven their infield, and they've got a really strong infield right now. I'll certainly give them that. But I don't necessarily believe that their pitching is going to hold up. And that's going to be the big thing. They say, well, Chicago's outlook jumped by 1.3 wins in a simulation, and their playoff odds went up by about 6%, and their title odds went up by 1%. Big damn deal. That doesn't mean anything. With improvements like that, yeah, maybe they say, well, the Cubs have leapfrogged the Brewers. I don't think so. The Brewers are a sound club. They know how to win baseball games. It's a very different baseball game played 90 miles north of Wrigley Field over in Milwaukee. Those guys know how to win. They play a team game. They steal bases. They throw leather. They have a good rotation. They have a really good bullpen. They hit for power. They hit for average. The Brewers are a 5-tool team. And that's what most people seem to miss. They say, well, the Dodgers are this, that, and the other. But the Brewers are a complete squad in the same way the Toronto Blue Jays are a complete squad. So you could cut it up however you want. I'll tell you, as a former ball player myself, I look at the Brewers and say that's a team that I would want to play on because everybody has the next man up mentality. And it makes a hell of a lot of sense for the Brewers to continue on their path and play great baseball, where the Cubs are too hot and cold and they have way too many question marks. Let's put it that way. I was going to say too much baggage now. They don't have the baggage. They just have a lot of question marks. And everything has to align. The stars have to align for the Cubs to be that team. With Imanaga not signing a long-term deal, which they really should have, I really believe they put themselves behind the 8 ball. Because remember, they still have the Pete Crow-Armstrong thing to deal with. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Stop it!
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items there: hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, sweatpants, ball caps, beanie hats, pillows, blankets, coffee mugs, travel mugs, mouse pads, you name it, they're all there. And they have the Sports Circus logo, the clever Sports Circus logo on them. And of course, you can always email info@thesportscircus.com and learn all about that clever logo. And if you mention my name, Ringmaster Sal, you'll get an extra 10% off your first order. Check that out at thesportscircus.com store. Of course, we get the super applause, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. All right. Moving on. Back with the baseball midseason, offseason. All right, so we covered a lot of squads. Right now we're going to head over to Boston. Boston is very confusing because Boston, they really haven't done anything. I mean, look, the pitching depth chart is pretty darn good. You can't complain. Look, their numbers are almost identical, except the championship possibility of basically winning a World Series. But the Red Sox numbers are almost a perfect match to the year previous. So, I mean, look, Craig Breslow has set the Red Sox up with one of the game's best rotations. We know that. And the depth chart goes 6 deep with guys like Garrett Crochet and Sonny Gray and Brian Bayo and so forth. Then they had a little bit of depth with Tolle and Early and Harrison. Look, only the Dodgers have a better park neutral rotation ERA and their forecast and a higher projected dominance force. But, of course, the offense could use an upgrade considering its Bregman-sized hole, if you know what I mean. So Alex not only provided, well, a much-needed injection of some kind of something at third baseman, because remember, they lost Rafi Devers to the San Francisco Giants. And so Zach Manassian picked him up, their general manager, and so they plugged the dam with Alex Bregman. But he was healthy for part of the season. Then he went on the shelf for a while. And then they lost him. Now he plays third base for the Cubs. So now the bigger question is, what's going to happen over there at third base? And so you got to think about guys like what's going to happen with the shortstop. So Marcelo Mayer. And the question is, what's going to happen? Is he going to slide in at shortstop? What's going to happen, I guess, a Trevor Story collapse? What's going to happen there? I mean, it feels like Boston is one key move from making it into that crowded second tier, putting the Red Sox on even footing with possibly the Yankees or Blue Jays. I don't know. But you got to realize that Boston has a lot of work to do, and Pitching-wise, yeah, they're set, but when it comes to everything else, I mean, look, you got to score runs, period. All right, moving on to the Detroit Tigers coming in at number 10. We're not going to cover all the teams because we can't. But their numbers look slightly better this year on the win average, slightly less, and I mean 0.1% for the playoff run. So the Tigers are sort of a conundrum. We don't really know what's going to happen with the Tigers. But look, let's think about this. It's a team on the rise. We know that. And Detroit is really coming off a second straight playoff run. And the pitching looks pretty darn good. But not perfect, of course, set aside the annoyance that Tariq Skubal is headed in for an arbitration hearing, which kind of muddies the water a little bit. But the rotation looks pretty well suited in terms of volume and really in run prevention. I guess that's the most important part of it. Now, the bullpen depth, it kind of lacks the big go-to guy to get that much-needed strikeout when you need it. Though that high-leverage strikeouts, right? Bases loaded, one out, or bases loaded, nobody out. Who are you going to bring in? That's the problem. I mean, the offense, sure, they're playing a lot better. You got guys like Riley Green are turning into exactly who they thought they were going to be. And even Spencer Torkelson is doing a little bit of the same, too. So we're seeing some productivity out of Torque. I think he hit 28, 30 home runs or whatever the year previous, like everybody else, seemingly. But the Tigers are a team on the upswing, and they should win the American League Central. They should, because they have all the personnel, and they're managed properly. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen there, but they're not done making moves. How about the Astros, a team in transition? They actually look better across the board from the year previous. So the bulk of the Astros' offseason work has been on the rotation, where they signed Imai out of Japan, traded for Mike Burrows from the Pirates, and added a KBO free agent, that's the Korean baseball organization, in case you're wondering, Ryan Weiss. And that trio joins Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and Lance McCullers. I think McCullers is expendable. They got to get rid of him. He can't stay healthy, and he's not the same McCullers he was in the past. So they do need some work with McCullers moving out, and I think they could probably get a broken Coke machine for him. But after that, the rotation neutral ERA projected as 25th. So they're a pitching to contact kind of a rotation. They're not really a high strikeout kind of team. And when their teams are pitching to contact, meaning put the ball in play, right? That's what Greg Maddux used to do. And so the problem is they have holes on the infield too, and they're not the same as they were. They're getting old. So you look and say, well, what's going to happen with the Astros? Look, if the Astros' productive pitching progress coaxes at least a league average performance from the starters after Hunter Brown, well, the rest of the picture, pretty damn good bullpen, and aging but productive offense, it's good enough to maybe put them somewhere in contention for a wild card spot. And you got to ask yourself, what the hell's going to happen with Jose Altuve and Christian Walker? What happens there? Another discussion for another time. All right, here we have the Brewers. Their numbers look a little bit less in win average, a little bit less in playoff percentage possibility, and a little bit less in championship. And I think that's largely because, well, swapping Nick Mears and Isaac Collins for Angel Zerpta, I really don't like that deal. I like the Isaac Collins. I think that was a bad move. But nonetheless, the Brewers really haven't done much. I really think they should have kept Collins. But if you look at the Brewers' position players, and as they project to the Major League's best base running team, so Bryce Terang kind of leads that group. Look, these guys are good. Like I said it in the last segment, the Brewers are a very, very good squad. They're not overspending. They sit well over $100 million below the tax threshold as well. So look, those guys can bring in a player or two. Who knows? Maybe even Eugenio Suarez or something. I don't know. And how about even the possibility of Kyle Tucker? That's right. Addition by subtraction from the Cubs. And I think that makes a little bit of sense because I think the Brewers could use it. Down to the Orioles. Remember, they had their big signing of Pete Alonso. And so their numbers have jumped up dramatically to make the playoffs and so forth. And they look like they're going to have some veteran leadership now. Guys like Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday and the gang, they needed a guy like Pete Alonso on that squad. I think Alonso is going to serve in the same way that Kyle Schwarber, that's the reason I spent so much time on him. I think Alonso is going to serve the same purpose that Schwarber did for the Phillies and even for the Nats at that time. So I believe that the Orioles are certainly on the upswing. The Padres seem a little bit stagnant, and I don't know about bringing back Michael King to the rotation if that was essential. But beyond that, the Padres' primarily splash really was the signing of a Korean baseball player from the Korean League, is what I'm saying. Sungmin Song. I really don't think that was the move that they were looking for. And yeah, even with Joe Musgrove returning from injury yet again, can he stay healthy? I don't know. Too many questions for the San Diego Padres. The Royals really need some kind of something because they are loaded with talent. They have the best player in baseball in Bobby Witt Jr., but you got to have something else, really. And the offense is very middle of the pack with shortcomings, walk rates, and so forth. And the Royals have had a very lackluster offseason, the grand scheme of things. I mean, look, it's not really an idle comment. I mean, look, the franchise's existence dovetails with division era since 1969, during which Kansas City's 7.7% walk rate is the lowest in baseball by a good margin, though. 2026 forecast is 8, so it's right there, right? Is it a little progress? Maybe, whatever. Only 2 teams project to less walks. So, the Royals do have a need for a righty hitter. We know that. They need some real power, and they need some productivity. They need a guy like a Kyle Tucker. I guess everybody needs that. But Tucker's not a big average guy. So is Bellinger the same player? Yes, he is basically the same player. They need somebody a little bit bigger as far as maybe a Eugenio Suarez, because he does hit for better average. Who knows? But remember, his career was largely mediocre until just about a year or so ago. So you never know. Texas Rangers, they look better only by, the thinnest of margins. And the Rangers still need some arms. And I think they're going after Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers. And I think that's really going to be the big deal. And even Michael Kopech from the Dodgers, who would be a really good fit for the Texas Rangers in the bullpen. Other than that, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rockers, hopeful progress. Well, we'll see what happens there. Arizona dropped all the way down to number 17. And their numbers look almost the exact same from the year previous. Now, the return of Merrill Kelly and, of course, Michael Soroka give Arizona a boxer's chance, I guess, to compete. And that's the biggest question. Bullpen, it's less coherent, basically ranking last in strikeouts, and they're really, really needing some help there. I mean, will Ketel Marte still be around? That's the big question. San Francisco Giants, they're going to look better really only in a World Series possibility. Their numbers basically stay the same. They still have some room to make some additions. And I mean, look, adding Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser, important stuff. But at the end of the day, these guys, they still need some help, and Zach Manassian's got his work cut out for him. Minnesota, much the same thing, much the same story. The Cincinnati Reds, we're going to finish up with them. The Reds, they look a little bit less as far as projection-wise from their playoff possibilities, and of course winning a World Series at less than 1%, about half of 1%. But no splash so far for the Reds. Disappointments, and all that stuff lingers from the failed pursuit of Kyle Schwarber, of course, the hometown guy. Guess what? He says, I'm going to go take $150 million from the Phillies. But if the Reds were indeed willing to put up $150 into the DH slot, they would be willing to put up that money to work in shoring up the roster that isn't that far away. I mean, over the past 5 years, the Reds have been out-homered at Great American Ballpark by 86 home runs. And that's not because of a shoddy pitching staff. No. It's which generally has been a strength in recent seasons, but the Reds just haven't hit enough home runs. And that trend appears to continue. I don't really see it doing any improvement whatsoever. And with Schwarber gone, the Reds should set their sights maybe back on Suarez, what they had way back in the day. Maybe Marcell Ozuna. Maybe Cody Bellinger. I don't know. It's not the easiest park in the world to hit home runs in, but anyone capable of slugging over 500 and leveraging one of baseball's most home run-friendly venues. They say it's a home run-friendly venue, but the home runs are just not really hit there. That's the interesting part about it. Anyway, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.